Shalom. This week's Sedra is Sedra Pinchas. Most readers of this Dvar Torah either live in or have visited Israel many times. There's a great deal to be amazed about as you travel through the land of Israel. Even if we're just talking about the land's topography and meteorology, Israel is a microcosm of the entire world. In its most northern point, the land is covered by forest, and its highest peaks have enough snow to allow for skiing. Its coast has stunning beaches, and as you travel inland, you encounter citrus fields whose produce is shipped around the world. Shifting to the mountains of Judea and Samaria, where I live, on the land's eastern flank, the views are stunning enough to give you trouble catching your breath. Jerusalem's streets take you down paths to our path and to our future. Tel Aviv paints a picture our ancestors couldn't dream of, and maybe wouldn't want to. The Negev defies what a desert is supposed to be. Instead of empty expanses of land, cities pop up, and water technologies make the desert bloom. As any Israeli real estate agent can tell you, there are locations in Israel that are more desirous than others. An apartment in Tel Aviv or a house on the beach in Herzliya sells for a higher price than a house in the Negev. Forget about Mitzvah Yericho. I imagine that when the Jewish people crossed the Yarden, the Jordan River, and the portions of the lands were divvied up, some tribes and families received a portion in more desirous places than others. How did a family who received less than prime real estate handle the news? In his discussions on man's ability to freely choose his own destiny, Maimonides, the Rambam, wrote, "Free will is granted to all men. If one desires to turn himself to the path of good and be righteous, the choice is his. Should he desire to turn to the path of evil and be wicked, the choice is also his. Each person is fit to be righteous just as Moshe, or wicked like Yerovam. Similarly, he may be wise or foolish, merciful or cruel, miserly or generous, or acquire any other character traits. There is no one who compels him, sentences him, or leads him towards either of these two paths. Rather, each person, on their own initiative and decision, tends to the path that they choose. This principle is a fundamental concept and pillar on which rests the totality of the Torah and the mitzvot. I'm not one to cast a shadow on man's free choice, but man's free choice is limited by their circumstances. I do have a choice of whether to buy a car or not, but my circumstances do not allow me the choice of buying a Ferrari or a Porsche. Both are out of my price range. God sets the world up in an order that allows certain people to enjoy certain choices and others not to have them. The challenge man faces is how he deals with his own specific circumstances. In this week's Torah portion, Pinchas, the apportioning of property in Eretz Yisrael was described. God said, "You shall apportion the land among these as an inheritance, in accordance with the number of names. To a large tribe you shall give a larger portion, and to a smaller tribe you shall give a smaller portion. The inheritance, the portion that each person gets, shall be apportioned between the numerous and the few, all according to a lot." It was done by lottery. In his commentary, though, to these verses, Rashi wrote, the lot wasn't just a random lottery. It was divided by the divine spirit, by Ruach HaKodesh. That's why the pasuk says, in accordance with the Lord's word. Tribes and families given a less than desirable portion in Israel still understood that it was given to them by God. A Jewish value is being happy with your lot. Man is challenged to be satisfied with what they have, and while bettering one's circumstances is not discouraged, being depressed about one's current circumstances is an imperfection in man's character. Like the Jews given a smaller portion, Jews today, born or faced with less than desirous portions or circumstances, are challenged to find the happiness with what they have, and to recognize that happiness does not stem from the size of your portion, but rather with what you do with it. Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.